Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something. When a young woman is waiting for an older man to make a move, she ain't just sitting around twiddling her thumbs. She's watching. She's listening. She's studying that man like it's a final exam because she knows one thing: age don't automatically equal wisdom, maturity, or intention. She wants to see if this older man is really what he claims to be. Young women often wait for clarity, confidence, and consistency from older men before making any emotional move because they understand that maturity should look a certain way. When a young woman steps into a connection with an older man, she's not entering blindly. She's aware of the age gap, she's aware of the expectations, and she understands that older men often come with life experience that should reflect in their behavior. So instead of rushing, pushing, or chasing, she observes. She wants to see if his words and his actions line up in a way that tells her he's genuine. She's checking to see if he leads with steadiness instead of confusion, and whether he shows up with emotional maturity instead of excuses. For her, clarity is everything because she knows that unclear men create unclear futures. While she waits, she pays attention to the consistency in his behavior. If he says he's interested, she wants to see the effort that matches the claim. Older men usually talk about knowing what they want, but a young woman wants to witness it through action. She's watching if he reaches out, if he makes time, if he communicates openly. She's aware that a mature man doesn't hide behind silence or mixed signals. She notices if he's predictable in a good way, meaning she can rely on him. Consistency is attractive to her because it gives her emotional safety, something she won't compromise no matter how charming or experienced he appears. Young women also understand the importance of confidence, not arrogance, not ego. Confidence that shows up in how he treats her, how he values her time, and how he respects her boundaries. So she waits to see if he approaches her with the kind of certainty that only comes from a man who is comfortable with himself. She wants to see if he's bold enough to express his intentions without playing games. When an older man hesitates too long or leaves too much to guesswork, she starts to wonder whether his age has brought wisdom or just stories. So she gives him the space to step forward, expecting his maturity to guide him. During this waiting period, she quietly evaluates whether his life aligns with what he's offering her. Does he show responsibility in his decisions? Is he stable enough to handle a real relationship? Does he communicate like a grown man who has lived, learned, and evolved? She doesn't need him to be perfect, but she expects him to be grounded. Younger men may get excuses, but an older man doesn't because he claims to know better. So she waits to see if knowing better means doing better. What she's really doing while she waits is protecting her heart. She's not passive, she's cautious. She's not distant, she's discerning. She's not uninterested, she's evaluating. She knows the value she brings, and she wants to be sure the older man sees it too, because once she gives her heart, she gives it fully, and she needs to know it's going to someone who understands the weight of that kind of trust. When a young woman waits for an older man to make a move, it's not because she's unsure of what she wants. It's because she wants to be sure of what he wants. Her waiting isn't a sign of weakness or passiveness. It's a strategic pause where she watches whether his maturity aligns with the expectations he sets by being older. She knows that being older isn't just about age. It's about control, stability, and emotional grounding. So while she waits, she's measuring the strength of his intentions against the clarity of his actions. She's not stepping forward too quickly because she wants to see if he's capable of leading a connection in the way an older man should. Young women use this waiting period to evaluate the energy he carries around her. If he's truly mature, he won't rely on her to make all the moves or carry the conversation. He won't expect her to chase. She's observing whether he knows how to approach her with respect, confidence, and genuine interest. She wants to see if he treats her like a woman he's serious about, not someone he's casually entertaining. This is the time where she reads his tone, notices how he speaks about relationships, and listens to how he carries himself. She wants to feel that he's not just attracted to her youth, but also attentive to her value. During this period, she watches his communication closely. Older men often talk about how they're done with games, how they're looking for something real, how they've learned from past mistakes. So she waits to see if his communication lines up with that. Does he initiate conversations? Does he follow through? Does he give clear signals or mixed ones? She's not looking for perfect communication, but she's looking for effort. A young woman respects consistency, and a mature man should understand its importance. She can sense when he's intentional and when he's drifting. She can feel when he's genuine and when he's performing. This waiting phase helps her separate the man who's ready from the man who's simply talking. She also uses this time to observe how he handles pressure. When a woman's interest is clear, an older man's response says everything. If he steps up, it shows confidence. If he hesitates, it shows uncertainty. If he withdraws, it shows unreadiness. She's paying attention to how he acts when the door of opportunity is quietly open for him. Does he walk through it, or does he wait for her to push him forward? She expects him to have the courage to move toward what he wants. And while she waits, she's checking his emotional balance. Older men sometimes carry the weight of past relationships, responsibilities, or unresolved issue. She wants to see if he's at a point in life where he can bring peace instead of problems. She's looking for calm, not chaos. She's waiting to see if he has the capacity to nurture a connection, not complicate it. Her waiting is an evaluation of whether he's truly ready for something meaningful or just entertained by the idea of it. Young women use the waiting period to test an older man's communication, energy, and pursuit, because these three things reveal more truth than any words he could ever say. When a woman is younger, she understands that stepping into something with an older man comes with expectations of stability, clarity, and emotional intelligence. So instead of rushing into the connection, she sits back and observes the way he shows up. She's not being difficult. She's being smart. She wants to see if his maturity translates into real effort, not just charming conversations or smooth language. She knows that communication is the foundation of any real connection, and she watches to see if he communicates like a man who means what he says. Does he respond thoughtfully? Does he check in? Does he express himself without being pushed? She takes note of how he communicates when things are good and how he communicates when things are confusing, because that's where his true nature shows. Energy is another thing she pays close attention to. A young woman can feel when a man's energy is aligned with intention. If he's serious about her, his energy will be consistent, present, and engaged. He'll make her feel seen and valued, not questioned or uncertain. She notices the difference between a man who is genuinely drawn to her and one who is entertained by the attention. An older man often carries himself with confidence, but she wants to see if that confidence is authentic or just something he uses to impress. She pays attention to whether his energy is calm, steady, and mature, or scattered, unpredictable, and confusing. A woman can read energy faster than she can read words, and she trusts that feeling more than anything else. Pursuit is where she really pays attention. Older men often talk about how a real man goes after what he wants, so she watches to see if he lives up to that. She's not asking him to chase her endlessly, but she expects effort. She expects consistency. She expects him to take initiative. A young woman knows she shouldn't have to guide an older man on how to show interest. She waits to see if he makes plans, if he follows through on his promises, if he steps forward without hesitation. Pursuit isn't about grand gestures. It's about intention that shows up in everyday actions. When he pursues her with respect and clarity, he makes her feel chosen. When he hesitates or pulls back, she knows exactly where she stands without him ever needing to explain. Throughout this period, she stays quiet but observant. She's learning who he truly is behind his maturity, behind his age, behind the image he presents. She watches how he balances his life, how he handles interest, how he behaves when he thinks she's waiting. She doesn't confront him or pressure him because she wants his natural behavior to reveal his intentions. She knows that true pursuit can't be forced, it must come from him. And that's why she waits, not to be chased, but to see if he genuinely chooses her. A young woman who is interested in an older man expects him to lead, but she also expects him to match the effort and respect she brings into the connection. When she waits for him to make a move, she's not waiting because she's unsure. She's waiting because she believes a man with more years, more experience, and more maturity should know how to step forward with confidence. But at the same time, she holds herself to a high standard. She doesn't want a dynamic where she's doing everything and he's doing just enough. She wants balance, she wants reciprocity, and she wants mutual respect. So while she gives him room to lead, she watches to see if he respects her enough to show up with equal energy. She pays attention to whether he values her time, her feelings, and her presence. Older men often talk about how they're done with games, but she wants to see if that's true in how he treats her. If she gives him patience, she expects him to give her clarity. If she gives him attention, she expects him to give consistency. If she gives him respect, she expects him to reciprocate it fully. She's not asking him to be perfect, but she won't accept a connection where she gives more than she receives, especially when he is the one with more life experience. She expects him to understand that relationships thrive on effort, not just age or charm. During this waiting period, she wants to see if he can lead without controlling, guide without demanding, and pursue without overwhelming. An older man should know how to approach a woman with intention, but also know how to make her feel equal, heard, and valued. She notices whether he takes initiative, not just in romance, but in communication, care, and emotional presence. She wants a man who can offer direction, but also accept her input. She wants him to lead with maturity, not ego. She wants to feel that he's guiding the connection, not dragging her along. At the same time, she expects him to match her respect. A young woman can sense when a man takes her seriously. She can feel when he listens. She can tell when he considers her feelings before making decisions. She pays attention to how he speaks to her, how he shows gratitude, and how he handles disagreements or misunderstandings. Respect is not something she negotiates, especially with an older man who should have learned its value long ago. She watches whether he respects her boundaries, her pace, her needs, and her individuality. If he can't show respect now, he won't show it later, and she knows that. She also expects him to match her effort. If she's showing interest, she wants him to show commitment. If she's showing support, she wants him to show reliability. If she's giving openness, she wants him to give honesty. Effort sends a message that he's serious, intentional, and grown enough to handle a real connection. During this waiting stage, every small action or lack of action tells her whether he truly values what could grow between them or whether he's simply testing the waters. Young women protect their hearts by watching an older man's actions more than his words because they understand that words are easy, but consistency takes character. When she's dealing with a man who has more life experience, she expects his actions to reflect the wisdom he claims to have. She's heard enough promises, sweet lines, and confident statements from men her age and older. So now she pays attention to the behaviors that truly reveal who he is. She watches how he moves when no one is asking anything of him. She notices what he does when he thinks she's not evaluating him. Actions show commitment, and she relies on that more than anything he could say to impress her. She observes how he treats her on the days when he's busy or stressed. A man who truly values her makes room for her even when life is hectic. She wants to see whether he prioritizes communication or disappears when things get complicated. She watches whether he's consistent with his effort or whether he comes in strong one day and pulls away the next. She pays attention to the rhythm of his behavior, because that rhythm tells her whether he's stable, responsible, and serious about her. She's not easily swayed by charm.